manage all of these idiots. So,
That's true.
I've I've been in charge of people before, and sometimes it's easier just to do everything yourself. But
It is. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That is so true. Facebook. Hi.
Hey, Facebook.
Yes, he's saying hi to you already. Matthew Blevins is here today. Let me do the intro to the
Oh,
show, the thank you to my sponsor, the intro to my guest, and then we're going to do a deep dive into who is Matthew Blevins. I know you're dying to know it at home, and that's the whole point of the show. All righty. So this is Linda Smith, your girl, Comic Spot. It was started so you could be at home maybe with clothes on and you can get to know comedians, entertainers, and who they are off stage. Because sometimes they come on stage and you're going, who is he? You don't know. You heard some jokes. Now you get to know who they are. It's like on TV when they have interviews, only it's like a comedian interviewing a comedian or a baby comic interviewing a legend, whatever. I'm not going to kid you. Yeah, I love doing this because I want you guys. I went to a club once and I saw the marquee and I saw hundreds of people coming up to Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club here in Vegas in like an hour, hundreds of people looking at pictures and they didn't know what show to go to. And I thought, wow, people don't know who these comedians are. So now's your chance to get to know Matthew Blevins. And the reason we even get to know him is because I got a sponsor that I get to do a shout out to, the Veterans of Comedy. Your girl was in the Army in the 70s. I know, 1970s, not the 18s. Stop it. I'm not that old. And when I was in the Army, nobody came to entertain, but the Veterans of Comedy have a motto to leave no laugh behind. And there they have my back. And and so I just want to tell you that this show wouldn't happen without the love and support of my fellow comrades of the military, the Veterans of Comedy. So shout out to Willie Clifton, and Eric Knowles, and all of the guys and gals at Veterans of Comedy. And because of that, you get to know the man in the other box over there. Yeah, Matthew Blevins. Let me read you the braggy little introduction I asked him to tell me. I don't think he wanted to say it, but who's going to tell an old lady no? Here we go. Matthew Blevins is a comic from Nebraska City, Nebraska. And he's fully willing to apologize for the fact that every show, if you kindly want, he's willing to apologize for the fact
for
that
that fact. Yeah.
for that fact after every show, if you kindly form a line. Cute. Matthew has opened for Sam Talent, wow, Kevin Farley, Erica Rhodes, Alex Hooper, and Alan Strickland Williams. But his comedy career is just an elaborate ruse to get out of the house, to escape his pack of feral children who are making him prematurely old by acting the same way he did at their ages. He is the co-founder of 129 Comedy Productions, comma, Chief Creative Officer of Lock 22 Productions, comma, and head writer and performer on the Dames Marv's Show. Dames Marv's Show. I said that without my teeth coming out. He's a recent winner of the Omaha Funny Bones Clash of the Comics. Did you hear me? I said Omaha Funny Bones Clash of the Comics, and 2017 Omaha Entertainer and Arts Award nominee for Best Comedian. Oh my gosh, that's really huge. I'd like you to welcome to the stage right now so we can get to know him off stage, the amazing Matthew Blevins. Woo!
Hey guys, I'm officially out of time. I wrote too long of an introduction. It's been great seeing you all out on Facebook. Hi, Linda. How are you?
Hey, Matthew, I'm great. Thanks for coming on to share your life.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do it.
Tell us, like you're from Nebraska City, Nebraska. Is that where you're currently living?
Yes, I'm currently hunkered in my basement like a post-apocalyptic ham radio operator right now in Nebraska City, Nebraska. So It's exciting outside, and I just want to be safe in here.
Yes, absolutely. So let's see. I want to talk about what is unique about Nebraska City, Nebraska that nobody knows. What do you want to tell us? A snippet.
So most of those secrets are very dark. It's like a David Lynch movie. If you're familiar at all with Blue Velvet, if you go outside, you're likely to find an ear in your yard on any given Tuesday in Nebraska City. That's
Wow, that's
I mean,
crazy.
okay, and it's also a beautiful town, and it has a lot of great like attractions. It's the home of Arbor Day. We have our Applejack Festival here every year, which brings in like 30 to 50,000 people, and it's a beautiful town, and I love jogging through it. And there's a lot of great places as well, but it is also a David Lynch movie.
Wow, that's crazy. Do you have a David Lynch story?
Um, No, not well, okay, maybe we'll get there. I think you can't just dip your toes right into the deep waters because you might drown right away. I don't
Okay.
know. It's
Well, I'd like you to go back in time then, if you will, and let people know who you were and how you wound up becoming recognized for funny. What was the process going from being funny at home or in school?
sure.
What's your specific story?
Okay. Yeah, so back in 2012, I started having some severe health issues. I would have nausea every day. I would have immense pain all the time. My blood pressure would hit like 220 over 110, and just I went through every test under the sun. I went through MRIs. I went through CAT scans. I went through all sorts of things. They took my gallbladder. They took my appendix, and were trying to figure out what was going on. And eventually they diagnosed me with something called carcinoid disease, which there were supposedly microscopic tumors that would secrete serotonin into your system and cause a lot of the symptoms that we were seeing. And so it can be very devastating. But so they started to be on treatment for that. And Blue Cross at the time would not approve the monthly shot that would help. So in the year 2014, I went to the hospital twice a day, every single day for that entire year to get this hormone injection in my stomach or my legs, or, just a subcutaneous injection. But I had to sit in the hospital every single day for the check-in process. And it was a very taxing year, to say the least. And so they eventually, after Blue Cross and CHI, they got into a big to do back at the tail end of 2014, I believe. And so for 90 days, my shots were only partially covered, and then they would send me checks for every shot. So I took 180 individual checks into CHI, and eventually I got approved for a monthly shot. And so things started to improve dramatically, and I started to feel better. And at that point, I had decided I'd always wanted to be a comedian, and never had the courage. But then, after having been through all of the experiences that I went through, I ran out of fear. And so I started comedy in May of 2016. Found the first Went out to Colorado, went with my ex-wife. We were gonna go to Doug Loves Movies taping at the Comedy Works, which is one of the best clubs in all of the country. I haven't gotten to perform there. Hey, Comedy Works, if you're listening. Anyhow, I digress. We went out there. We were going to find an open mic, and I was going to do comedy out in Colorado for the first time. I had my open mic set all locked in and ready to go, but I could not find a place to do comedy out there. It's hard to find open mics on Fridays and Saturdays, especially if you're uninitiated into a comedy scene. So I did a little legwork and found out that Barley Street Tavern, rest in peace, because that place is no longer around in Omaha. It was a legendary comedy open mic in Omaha. And I went there and did my first set. And from that moment, I knew that this is what I was going to do. And I haven't stopped since. So a little over 5.5 years ago.
Wow. So were you the type to be really nervous for your first set, or you just
In a strange way, I was less nervous when I was on stage than when I was off stage. I have a lot of anxiety issues, and I'm generally a nervous guy as it is.
really?
But then once I hit the stage, it just felt right. I can't explain. It's easier to talk to all of you than it is to talk to any one of you.
Wow.
So, yeah. Apparently, I had a lot to say, and most of my life I was not allowed to say it, and so now it's all
What?
coming out. Yeah.
You tell me about that, not being allowed, because that's like my childhood.
Yeah, you
I want to
weren't,
hear
it was one of those. It was a rough childhood. I'm not gonna lie. My mom was extraordinarily young when she had me, and it was just we went through a lot of poverty and bad experiences, and there's a lot of trauma there, and it is what it is. It's my job to heal that in myself now.
yes.
That's just I think that's what we all get to do when we get to us, if we have the luxury to do it, because a lot of people don't make it far enough in life to start to resolve that unresolved trauma. But
True.
uh, I was afraid all the time, very antisocial, very overweight. I was shoot in I got in shape in about 2008 for the first time. Before that, I was about 270, 280, and had no self-confidence whatsoever, and just a completely different person. People do not recognize the person that I am now. But yeah, it was one of those things where you don't bring, if you're living in like poverty and things like that, you don't bring up the demons, because we're all living in them all the time. Nobody wants to hear about it. We can't solve them, so there's no sense talking about it. Well, once I had given myself the liberty to start talking about anything that I wanted to, I never stopped. So that's why I'm on stages all over the place, and writing like a maniac most days.
Do you talk about the hard stuff you've been through and make it funny and relatable?
Absolutely. When I was knee deep in my health issues, and then also going through a divorce with my ex-wife at the time, and then just the trials and tribulations of being a father of teenagers in small town Nebraska with, various, we hit a lot of, I guess we have LGBT kids, or LGBTQIA plus kids. I'll complete the acronym, and then also kids on the autism spectrum, kids with mental health issues, and it, yeah, I've had to think long and hard about, that that's always been in me, and I've passed that along to other people. Unfortunately, for better or worse, I've passed some of the bad stuff, but they also got to get a lot of the great stuff. And so I think that maybe I'm uniquely qualified to guide these kiddos through this life and with these burdens,
Yes.
break those generational cycles, hopefully.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I get it. So how is it? I'd like you to explain to younger comics, and people are curious too. How do you, like, a lot of people have a lot of pain and trauma, and they aren't able to relate it in a funny way to make people laugh. They
Mhm.
might get a sympathy laugh, or a rolling of the eyes, or people don't want to talk to them because they're Debbie Downers. How do
Sure.
you take crap and make it funny, Matthew?
So the only way that you get to do that in stand-up comedy is through time and trials and tribulations. And unfortunately, you have to suck in front of people for a while before you figure out how to do that. So I've always been I've had a knack for that, because it was a defense mechanism for me through my entire life. And it's like, if I could turn the traumatic thing into something funny, and I got the bully to laugh, or now I count, if I get my boss to laugh at some crappy thing that I say, he's co-signed it. So I've carried that skill through life. But what I'm basically telling all these young comics out there is, keep trying to figure out how to bring that stuff to the stage. Don't let anybody detract from what you're trying to do, because it may take you a few years to figure out how to convey that in a way that's going to universally hit every crowd, and then take that and put it in front of as many different types of crowds as you possibly can. So then that way you have a version of yourself that translates to everyone. And there's no shortcut to it, and you may fail, and you're probably going to be unfunny. That's just the way that this works. But then see me again in 10 years. And if you're unwilling to put in that 10 years, then you're not gonna make it. That's the only thing, is that if you don't quit, eventually you'll get somewhere.
Yes. So how do you write a joke? What is your process? Let's say you're remembering something traumatic that you went through. I have so many traumas,
Mhm.
Let's say I'm remembering something or you're remembering something. Let's go with you. And that's easier for me. And you don't see the funny in it. You just remembered something new from your childhood and you want to make it funny. It's not funny yet. What's besides getting on a stage and trying in front of a crowd, when you go to write those nuggets, how do you do
Sure.
that?
So for me, it's a little bit the opposite of that process that you just said, as far as thinking of a traumatic event and then thinking of the funny. Usually what happens to me is if I'm reminiscing about something and then I realize the absurdity of it, or that it's like, this is more of a Charles Dickens novel than most people's childhood, most people's childhoods. So there's something funny there. And so, I find the funny first, and then I figure out a way to tie it together, like long bits about, and it's not all just trauma either. Sometimes it's just funny life observations or what have you. A lot of my stuff is just the funny stuff about being a dad sometimes, but then I do dip into those heavier topics as well. But as far as writing goes, I have a lot of different techniques that I'll use. Like during the pandemic, I spent the first 3 months off of all stages, and I would bless you. And
Thank you.
then I would basically sit right in this room. And for 90 days, I just plinked away at the keyboard. And what I would do was basically just start writing essays, or just brain dump into just a document, everything I could think of. And then sometimes who knows what topics might emerge. But then if you go back through that, because I think the way that I do, and I'm naturally going to go for the funny when I'm writing, I can mine that document for, oh, that's a funny punchline. I can build something around that. So a lot of times it was finding a funny, like a punchline from a life experience, and then building the framework of a joke around it. So then after that 90 days of writing, I had to take that to the stage, because it doesn't do you any good unless it works in front of people. And almost universally, none of it worked in front of people for a while. I thought I had it all figured out. That's how that writing process works. It's like, oh yeah, this is ironclad. This is going to get a laugh, and then it doesn't. So then you go figure out why, and then you spend a year building all of the material that you spent that 90 days writing. Meanwhile, as things occur to me in day-to-day life, I'll jot them in a notebook, or I'll tell them to Siri. And then sometimes I'll go like Gary Shandling used to have this technique where he'd take just an old legal pad, and he would write his new joke ideas on it, and then he'd take it to stage, and then he'd read from it and try and find jokes that would work. Sometimes I'll use a technique like that, where I'll take my notes on stage and like mine for punchlines out of that stuff that I've written. And then, from there, it's just a matter of putting it at open mics until you figure out all the beats. And then 10 years from now, you'll have your hour. I don't know. I don't know how the rest works.
Just hard work and dedication.
That's all you have. There's no trick to it. You just put in the work.
Awesome. Who are some people in your life from early childhood to now who have come along and helped you that you want to give a shout out to?
First and foremost, I'd love to get a shout out to my lovely wife, Sarah. So,
Hey, Sarah.
She made me, I would not be as strong as I am. And, I wouldn't be the person that I am without her influence. And, it's, you think you know what love is, and then you find out when you're older. So that's what
Yeah,
I found out.
that's
Uh,
true.
yeah. But there's been a lot of family members and a lot of folks along the way, grandparents and everybody else that have been, um, try to encourage this oddball as much as they possibly could, because I believe that I may be an alien or something. I don't know if people knew what to do with me exactly. So they all tried their best, and so every family member that ever scratched their head and wondered what this little 6-year-old genius was running around in their kitchen saying outlandish things was all about. Thank you for your patience, I guess.
Totally. I totally get that because when you're an artist and like a lot of times if you don't fit a certain mold, you're considered odd or
Mhm.
like in the 50s when I grew up, if you said anything funny, you were sent to the principal.
Sure.
And so it was very much looked down on and you were thought to be less than intelligent if you were funny. Now the opposite is true. There's a lot of shows where it's esteemed to be a comedian. I go play, people say, "Oh, you're so brave." Oh my gosh, it's so different than it
Yeah.
used to be. It used to be shunned. You'd be shunned if you were funny.
Sure. And I have a lot of comedian friends, and I know a lot of comedians, and I think we should go back to shunning funny people because we're all terrible. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally
Oh my gosh. So your comedy is taking you lately to what places? So where can people see you?
Okay, so on the 23rd, I'm going to be in Grand Island, Nebraska at the, let's see here. I've got my dates in front of me at the Full Circle venue. So that's going to be an awesome event. If you're out in Grand Island, definitely come out and check that out. We got a great lineup. And then on
November
October,
23rd.
no, that one is October 23rd. That's next Saturday.
And what's the name
Uh,
of the place?
Full Circle venue.
Thank you.
And then on October 30th, I'm going to be at the Omaha Funny Bone opening for the Raging Cajun, John Paul Morgan. So I'm excited about that. Get tickets to that because it's going to be fun. And then November 2nd, I don't have the venue in front of me, but I'm excited. I'm going to be in New Orleans, y'all. So come check me out. Find
Wow.
me. Find me on
Congratulations.
Facebook. We'll figure it out. Yep.
That's a congratulations for you, I'll tell you. Wow. And where do you want people to follow you on social media, Matthew?
I am doing Blevo Comedy for all of my social media stuff. So at Blevo Comedy on Facebook, or okay, so you go facebook.com/Blevo Comedy on Facebook. And then if you go to Instagram, I am at Blevo Comedy, BLEVO Comedy. And same for Twitter. And I'm jumping into TikTok a little bit as well. So it's gonna,
Are
yeah, I've got some cool projects lined up for TikTok. So be prepared because I think it's going to be interesting. There's yeah, it's definitely going to turn heads. I know that for sure.
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Blevo comedy on TikTok as well.
On TikTok as well.
That's smart to have the same calling card everywhere. A
That's what
lot of
I
people,
figured.
yeah, a lot of people don't do that. I
Mhm.
had to go back in. You're looking at the lady that opened up a Facebook, forgot she had one, opened up another, forgot about it, and I have 3 Facebooks,
Sure, sure.
and only one of them do I talk to. So there's a lot of people I've rejected out there. But yeah, so that's the end of my interview of you. But what I want to do is, let's see here. There's time. I want you to take some time to talk about anything I didn't uncover, like anything, like what you've learned, what you want to share to people that I didn't ask, what you want to, what's your passion to leave the world with better off because you've been here?
Sure.
What are some passions that you have for or against that aren't political or religious?
Mhm.
Like anything you want to say, you can have 10 minutes to just look at the camera and talk to people watching and leave me out of the picture.
Absolutely. So, guys, if you're out there listening, and if I'm looking at you, you are. I want you to pay extra special attention to the mental health needs of your children. I've been through some heavy stuff this week, and I won't necessarily go into all of the details on here, but you need to know that when your kiddos are struggling, sometimes they'll reach out for help in ways because they don't know how. They don't have the communication means to let you know that they're struggling. So pay attention to those signs. And if your kid is struggling, don't make it about punishing them. You need to make this about healing them. So mental health, anxiety, depression, bipolar issues, all of that stuff can manifest itself in wildly different ways. And I think as a collective society, we need to get better about identifying what people are struggling with instead of just putting a label on them or judging them or ostracizing them or just putting them out of sight and mind because it's easier not to look at it in the face. We all need to work hard to make sure that our next generation of kiddos is better at dealing with this stuff than we were. This whole notion of it was character building for you, so those experiences helped shape you. No, that's not necessarily the case. I had a lot of character building experiences throughout my entire life, and although they did make me the person that I am today, I could have also been that person that I am today with a lot less struggle, a lot less health issues, a lot less just day-to-day turmoil if someone had given me those tools a long time ago. So, if even if you think everyone in your household is mentally healthy, go talk to somebody and get an estimation of what's going on, and maybe you can put a stop to some of the generational patterns, and maybe you can be the last line of resistance against just countless generations of trauma. And we all don't need to cower in fear because our great grandfathers were alcoholics in World War II. We can form a better future. So, and that's not, I apologize for any World War II veterans. That was a specific example from my life about how when a lot of them came home, they would turn to alcohol, and then that would turn into very combustible household dynamics. And then that would translate into the next generation. And then that generation would translate into the next generation. And I'm saying that right now, right here in the middle of this pandemic, we can stop this. So reach out to me if you're struggling. Reach out to me if you're if you're a parent and you don't know what you should be doing. Reach out to me. And that's all I have to say.
I would like to piggyback a thought on that to validate what you said. I raised a daughter who is struggling, has been struggling, and I just feel that the sooner that we quit having a stigma about finding out what's wrong, why is one child different from the rest? Why is somebody always sad? Why does somebody always see black and white? Why does somebody always cloister themselves in their room? If we could get rid of that stigma and get people help without them feeling like they're lesser or judged or the oddball, we could heal people. And like being a veteran and being in comedy, talk about two groups that I couldn't be around more people that are prone to suicide than the two I'm in, other than being a dentist, which I'm not going to do. Sure. But like it's no joke what happens with my own daughter. Struggled with wanting to kill herself for years, and it's just, thank you for bringing up that wonderfully serious topic.
Absolutely.
And I wish you the very best with your entire family. And it's a family affair that's going to pull together,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm strong enough for it. I'm here for it.
And you're there for other people who might be struggling. I might be reaching out to you. It's been 8 years since my daughter's talked to me.
Sure.
So yeah. So if there's a down day, you know who's going to be calling you. It's going to be me.
Anytime, Linda. Anytime.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being real. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
I can't stand all the egos in this business.
No.
Like, let's be real. Come on, folks. We've made it through a pandemic. Can we be real?
Absolutely.
Thank you for being real.
That's the only
Now,
way I know how to be. So
I love it. So you have a professional microphone. Do you do a podcast?
not yet. We're working on some projects though. There's some stuff in the works. I'm laying framework. I'm laying the tracks down. You know how it goes. And the last 5 years have been solely about getting on as many stages as I possibly can, so that I can become, great at comedy. But at a certain point, you have to kind of diversify your portfolio a little bit in this business, because being a stand-up comic alone is often not enough to get the eyeballs on you that you'd like to have. So that's why I do a podcast, or figure out how you can express your creative voice through whatever vehicle that is available to you, because there's a lot of podcasts out there. There's a lot of different, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But oftentimes, like I've always said, is that the mountain is never quite as tall as you think it is. And if you put in the time, you put in the work, eventually you'll figure out the idea that you're supposed to do, and it won't be a mountain. It'll be as easy as stepping onto a curb. So
The harder you work, the next step is just another step.
just another step. Yep.
That's so encouraging. Wow. Thank you so much. You brought some really great information about your life and some life lessons. And this has been a real lovely, lovely time to get to know you. Now that you've graduated from Comic Spot and you at home have witnessed it, you're welcome to come back anytime you want to plug anything going on for 5 or 10 minutes. I can do 30 of it, 30 plugs a day. Who cares if I'm 70? Nobody cares what I put on my face. I'm kidding. Thank you so much, Matthew.
Oh, thank you, Linda. Thank you. And to everyone, take care and be safe, and call me if you need anything out there. All right.
Yes. Thank you so much, Matthew. Bye.
Bye-bye
Love
now.
you lots.
Love you.